Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, esteemed guests, and most importantly, our graduates of 2020. It is a great pleasure to welcome you all to our faculty's fully virtual pledge ceremony today. Along with the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences management team and staff, I wish to extend my warmest congratulations to all those who will pledge to uphold the values of this faculty and those of the profession you are joining. The Health Professionals Pledge is undoubtedly one of the most important commitments made by an individual entering a health profession. Your participation in this ceremony today allows you to make a promise to be a health professional who respects people, cares for yourself, and treats others with dignity, integrity, and compassion. In a country currently grappling with the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, your commitment to caring for your patients and everyone around you is even more significant. A second wave of this once-in-a-century event has descended upon our population, and it is our duty as health professionals to ensure that we protect the health and safety of each and every person we interact with, including ourselves. We trust that the commitment you make will serve as your guiding light as you commence your professional career in a markedly different world. On behalf of the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all the family members and friends of our graduates sharing in this significant occasion with us. Thank you for joining in celebrating the success of our students and for your invaluable support and involvement during their years of study. Class of 2020, before we commence with the official pledge ceremony, I'd like to remind you that this event is being live streamed and that a recording of it will be made available hereafter. Please accept my well wishes to each of you as you conclude your journey with us today. We will now observe the entrance of the academic procession.
Good afternoon, goeiemiddag, molweni. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. I would like to welcome most of you virtually, but some of you physically, the family and friends of our graduates, our funding partners, our colleagues from the Department of Health, our academic and support staff, but most importantly, our graduates of 2020, who will all, for the first time, be attending this virtual pledge ceremony. I would also like to welcome the following people attending in person today. Our guest speaker, Dr. Erasmus, our faculty management, the executive heads of departments, heads of divisions, as well as the program coordinator for the MBCHB program, our academic and support staff of the MBCHB program. So every year, the faculty invites a special guest to this event to share some words of inspiration as you, our graduates, embark on this exciting new journey. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Dimitri Erasmus. So when Dr. Erasmus was 12 years old, he lost the second of his two brothers, both of them at the age of 14 in two separate incidents. During the turmoil that followed these tragedies, a local general practitioner supported the family. It was largely as a result of this display of empathy that he decided to pursue a career in medicine when he was in grade 9. He remained faithful to that commitment, and after matriculating at Patterson High School in Port Elizabeth, he started his journey at university. Now, I've known Dimitri since UCT days in the 1980s, when we both started our career in our medical degrees as previously disadvantaged individuals. So some of you may not know, in the days before democracy, we had to obtain a permit to study at UCT. In 1981, it was the last time, as far as I know, that the Department of Coloured, Rehoboth, and Narbonne Affairs issued permits for mixed-race persons at UCT. Dr. Erasmus initially did a science degree and received his master's degree in virology. This was a method that many young South Africans of colour had to follow to be allowed to study at the medical schools in South Africa. He graduated in 1986 with the MBCHB degree and then worked for a number of years as a GP. During that time, he decided that he needed to improve his skill set and completed his MBA at our Stellenbosch Business School. He came back to the public sector in 2004 as the CEO of Red Cross, and it was as the Chief Executive Officer of Tygerberg Hospital that he retired at the end of September 2020, bringing an end to a long and fulfilling career in medicine. Earlier this year, working closely with Dimitri, we've been able to sign off our bilateral agreement between the university and the Department of Health. It was as the CEO that Dimitri, together with many other colleagues in the health system, made it possible for you graduates to be supported in your clinical training journey. This year has notably been a tough one. And when the President declared lockdown in March 2020, we immediately started to engage with Dr. Erasmus and his team at Tygerberg Hospital and beyond to ensure that all of you successfully conclude the academic year. Your class returned to clinical training in the midst of the pandemic. Today is again evidence of the success of our partnership with the Department of Health. Now, Nico Koopman, our Deputy Vice Chancellor, always tells us we should have 3 points at the end of a little speech. So I've chosen P's today, Dimitri, in honor of the pledge ceremony today. 3 words that sum you up: passionate, commitment to partnerships, and people-centered. I want to add a PhD, but I think that's for another day. So Dimitri, we look forward to your words of inspiration for our new colleagues entering a very uncertain world today.
Trying to find my... Prof. Varmik, the Dean, members of the faculty management, executive heads of departments and other academic staff, parents and family, and most importantly, you, the graduates of 2020, it is indeed an honor and a privilege for me to make this speech at this very sentinel event. We found ourselves in troubling, interesting, and very different and uncertain times. And previously, this would have been an in-person event, with parents and families being present in person. Instead, it is a virtual event. To the parents and family who are live streaming, I wish to say that I can relate to your feelings of elation, as last year this time, I experienced this moment with my daughter who took the pledge at the same faculty. I can also relate to the trepidation and uncertainty you must have felt earlier this year when the pandemic hit us and we had to go into lockdown. You probably wondered whether this day would arrive in 2020. Well, it has. So relish the moment and be filled with pride and joy. I must say, I will miss the spontaneous ululations and shouts of joy and pride as we became so accustomed to when this was an in-person event. But please, do not let that restrain you wherever you find yourself. Only appeal to you, do so safely. To the graduands, I'd like to say that you are a very, very special class indeed. And I salute you and your lecturers for adapting and for being so resilient during this period of intense disarray. Since you are indeed the final year class of 2020, taking the pledge in 2020, it could have been a very different outcome. I applaud you for this. The Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery qualification is certainly one of the most versatile professional learning opportunities, as it opens up so many career pathways to pursue. My own professional journey took a few twists and turns. In fourth year, I aspired to become a pediatrician, then instead became a general practitioner after doing 12 months of pediatrics as a medical officer, post-internship. Many years later, I went to business school to equip myself to pursue a career in health management. In both these instances, I followed my passion for wishing to make a small difference in healthcare and to the lives of people. Today is but a stepping stone for you. A new vista awaits upon you as a medical doctor. You can pursue your interests in a variety of ways, as a generalist, as a subspecialist, as a researcher, a bioengineer, a health manager, a health entrepreneur. The opportunities are limitless. Seize the moment. As you embark on this exciting journey, I hope that my messages to you today, will accord with you and provide some guidance to you. My first two messages to you are about choice and passion. And that word choice, in where we're finding ourselves right now, is a loaded word. Because so many of us as individuals have to make the choice of ensuring that we wear a mask, that we sanitize our hands, that we avoid close contact, that we avoid confined spaces, that we avoid crowds. But that is not the message I want to give you about in terms of choice. I want to give you a message of something else and different to that. So follow your passion and be bold and make that choice about which pathway you will follow career-wise. It is so much easier to make a choice when you are passionate about something. Always pursue your passion, no matter what the circumstances are that you find yourself in. It is through passion and dedication and making the right choices that you will best serve as a doctor. My third message to you is about vulnerability. COVID-19 has made me come into stark reality with my own vulnerability. And in doing so, it has led not only to my growth as an individual, it also truly made me realize and deeply understand the vulnerability of others. This became a very compelling motivation for me to do as much as what I could as an individual during the pandemic. Being in touch with your own vulnerability also means knowing your limitations and shortcomings and actively working on it. Malcolm Gladwell, the author, journalist, and public speaker, says that you are only as strong as your weakest link. Although he relates this to an organization, in my view, it is equally applicable to an individual. So while you harness your strengths, also focus on your weakest link. My fourth message to you centers around values. Embrace a system of values that you will make your own and truly live those values. It is ultimately how that shines through that people will remember you by. You are very fortunate in that the faculty has exposed you to a very rich value system. The values of the university, the Western Cape Department of Health, the faculty charter, and the pledge which you are about to make of value systems that you can hold on to. As being a doctor means that you are an advocate for those in need, and a good value system underpins such advocacy and ethical practice. The fifth message I wish to leave with you today is that of caring. You would not have been here today after 6 years of learning and training if you did not choose to become a doctor because you wish to care for others. The opportunity that you have been given must surely embrace what President-elect of the United States, Joe Biden, refers to as the duty of care. The duty of care, doing the maximum good for many in need, can only truly be executed if you take care of yourself. Self-care in the form of physical, mental, and spiritual well-being is vital if you are to care for others, and you will undoubtedly find yourself very often in contexts of very desperate and challenging conditions in the healthcare system and in society. Taking care of yourself is vital, and if you are to navigate this terrain successfully. My last message is about partnership. I'm an ardent Manchester United fan, but I'll be using the Liverpool creed and motto, "You will never walk alone," as an illustration of partnership. As a doctor, you will need to embrace partnership and work hard on relationships, as you cannot do justice to the duty of care as an individual. You will need others beside you and with you, be it in a multidisciplinary clinical setting, be it in the area and arena of collaborative research. Partnership is vital in achieving excellence. Partnership too. As a doctor, you may have all the knowledge and the skill when you practice your craft and when you manage patients. But remember, the vital partnership between yourself and the patient and the family in managing them and their illness appropriately and holistically and ethically is vital. In summary, I wish to leave you with an acronym for easy reference. As a newly qualified doctor, you are undoubtedly aware of the important marker of heart functionality and hemodynamic status, namely the central venous pressure, abbreviated as the CVP. My summation message to you is that whichever journey you embark upon, let the acronym CVP squared be at the heart of it. And in this instance, CVP squared stands for 2 C's, care and choice. 2 V's, vulnerability and values. 2 P's, passion and partnership. I hope that my messages to you today, folded into this acronym, will be a useful tool for you in the future as you embark on this very exciting, challenging, and I'm sure concerning journey that you're about to enter, given where we find ourselves at this point in time in our country. But you will be equipped, and you have been equipped through your learning at this faculty and through the exposure that you've had in the health system in the Western Cape to do your best and to deliver your best that you ever can think of to patient care. So continue to do so. Hold that banner high for yourself, for your family, for your country, and for your people. All the best to you and your families. Thank you very much.
Dr. Erasmus, thank you so much for reframing CVP as CVP squared. I'm sure that every graduate will find that a very easy acronym to remember and hopefully to use. I think it also is time that we also said thank you to you and the leadership that you gave us in this year as the CEO of Tygerberg Hospital, which every graduate knows was what finished their qualification here. It's you letting the students back onto the clinical platform at a time of great uncertainty that actually enabled them to finish their degrees and to be participating in this process today. So thank you for your leadership in this really difficult time in providing that to our students. Thanks, Dr. Erasmus. It is now time for our graduates to make the pledge. It's a pledge made in public to uphold the values of the faculty and the medical profession that you're joining. Graduates will be invited to stand wherever you find yourselves and read the pledge, which will be shown on screen, together with me. Pledge certificates will be provided when you collect your degree certificates. They are in the 3 official languages of this province, English, Afrikaans, and isiXhosa, any or all of which you are welcome to sign. You will also receive a pledge ceremony booklet, which includes the pledge and all your names. At the time of collection, you will also have an opportunity to sign the pledge book that remains in the safekeeping of the faculty. So now I'd like to invite our graduates to stand and to read the health professionals' pledge with me. So here we go. I freely and humbly pledge to be a health professional who respects people, cares for myself, and treats others with dignity, integrity, and compassion. I value who I am and can become as much as I value others for who they are and can become. I shall strive at all times to maintain patient confidentiality and to uphold the highest ethical standards in my practice. In an ever-changing world, I shall remain a curious, creative, and reflective health professional, respecting diverse ideologies, ideas, contexts, and solutions which matter to people, communities, and populations. I shall work with others as equal partners in striving for excellence in person-centered care. I commit to being an advocate for social justice, working to improve the living conditions, care experiences, and health outcomes of those entrusted to my care. I accept my responsibility to help build a sustainable future for all by using resources with care, creativity, and diligence. Finally, I will at all times endeavor to provide care that helps and does no harm. The end. Thank you for making that profound pledge. And if you were standing, please feel free to sit again. I now call upon Professor Jimmy Volmink, Dean of the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences, to read the names of our MBCHB 2020 graduates. Professor Volmink.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Erasmus, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure to be present at this occasion and to join you wherever you are, virtually as well as in person here today. It is indeed, as many have said, a very special day, a very special occasion. I would therefore like to begin by congratulating our graduates on their success. You can be justifiably proud of what you've achieved, and we certainly are extremely proud of you. We know that you will make us proud as you go forward, and we welcome you as our new colleagues in the health professions as we walk together to deal with, to address the health challenges of this nation and this world. You know, success, as I always say, is a team effort. And so while we acknowledge the hard work and commitment from your side, we also want to remember that there are many people that have contributed to your success. We've already heard about Dr. Erasmus and the province who have assisted us in so many ways. There are your teachers, those who have lectured to you. There are the mentors that you have enjoyed having. There are your family members and their friends. And all of those can deserve credit today. And we celebrate together your success, and we share in the pride that we feel about you and what you've achieved. Now, obviously, we would have loved to have you all here in person, but the circumstances have not allowed for that. 2020 has just been such a year where, you know, it's just been impossible to plan, ahead, and one had to make very quick changes as the situation, as the circumstances have changed. But what we've also learned about 2020 is doing things online can be very effective. And we, for example, have had this year for the first time retirees events online, where people have worked for the university for 40 years, and we would have loved to just be there with them and hug them and so on, but that's not been possible. But they have entered into the spirit of it, and we've had wonderful celebrations together online, being creative in so many different ways. And I hope that today will be no different, so that wherever you are, and I think Dr. Erasmus has already alluded to it, or one of the earlier speakers has said that, you go ahead and just celebrate where you are. If it's ululating, that's fine. If it's cartwheels, if it's primal screams, whatever it is that you usually do to celebrate something, do it where you are, but just do it safely. That's all we ask. So now I'm going to move on to the reading of the names, and I'm going to also be announcing prize winners. And to receive the prizes on behalf of the students, I'm going to ask Dr. Derek van Vieren to join me up front. I hope Derek has brought a big wheelbarrow, because there are quite a lot of awards today. All right, so here we go, and the first name is Mandy Lynn Abels. I'm going to just say, I'm going to read all the names, and at the end give the audience here an opportunity to applaud just once at the end, so don't feel pressured to applaud after the reading of every name. Akila Abrams, Muhammad Raythan Adenal, who also passes with distinctions in ENT and Obstetrics and Gynaecology. Alice Ayobo Alatide Adiolu. Tamron Janica Adonis, with distinctions in ophthalmology and obstetrics and gynecology. Brad Africa. Arshad Ali Ahmed, with distinctions in surgery, primary health care, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Shakira Akuji, Muhammad Fayyad Ali, Samina Ali, with distinctions in surgery, primary health care, ophthalmology, orthopedics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Takira Ali, Mishka Ahmad, with distinctions in orthopedics and obstetrics and gynecology. Samantha Jane Ani, Nabil Ashtikar, with distinctions in urology and obstetrics and gynecology. Christopher Ronald Bali, with distinctions in anesthesiology, ENT, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Vukosi Baloy, Mohammed Kasim Bandakar, Erica Colette Bantham, Azar Basudin, Zara Bell, Rushda Benjamin, Justin Robert Baron Burling, Joy Gugu Bengu, Carly André Bluchnout, with distinctions in surgery, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Dala Blamiris, with distinctions in primary health care, anesthesiology, orthopedics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Ntabeleng Tumelo Boboko, Rudolf Frederick Boshoff, Gerrit Andre Bueta, with distinctions in primary health care and obstetrics and gynecology. Bradley James Botto, Teresa Brunt, distinctions in primary health care, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Sadika Bray, with distinctions in ophthalmology, ENT, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Mardi Breitenbach, Abri Brooks, Kanya Kwakwe Hope Cindy, Mujtaba Date, with distinctions in primary health care and obstetrics and gynecology. Muhammad Davids, Azar Salim Dawood, Rosie Matilda Debott, with distinctions in anesthesiology, ophthalmology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Renske Delabat, who passes with cum laude and has distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, pediatrics, psychiatry, and obstetrics and gynecology. And if you've lost count, that was 10 distinctions. All right. Eben de Villiers, with distinctions in primary health care and ENT. Karel Jacobus de Wet. Lemay Ding, with distinctions in primary health care and obstetrics and gynecology. Ntombi Yokolo Makosa Malunga Dlamini, with distinctions in ophthalmology and orthopedics. Zamasi Balukulu Notando Sibonga Konke Dlamini. Stephanie Lee Dolman, with distinctions in primary health care, ophthalmology, and obstetrics and gynecology. All right, Professor Blitz, I have found the page that you were worried about. It was in the wrong order. So in case you were worried, we haven't missed out on any names. We're going to come to you in a minute. Cara Andrea Klitter. Lisa Joan Coltman. Lisa Combrink, obtaining her degree cum laude. And she has distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, internal medicine, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. That is also 10 distinctions. We're not done with her yet, because Lisa also receives the prize for the best performance in otorhinolaryngology. Ridiculously long name. And this award is sponsored by the division concerned. Palisa Sipisishle Nomshle Konko. Tariq Ahmed Dada, with 6 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Farine Dalvi. Nadia Dalvi, with distinctions in ophthalmology and orthopedics. Riaz Ahmed Dalvi, with distinctions in ophthalmology, orthopedics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Natasha Cariz Daniels, with distinctions in primary health care, psychiatry, and obstetrics and gynecology. Luiso Almero Dupasani, with distinctions in primary health care and ophthalmology. Lara Duplessis, obtaining her degree cum laude with distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Inga du Toit, obtaining the degree with cum laude. She has 11 distinctions. Distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, internal medicine, pediatrics, psychiatry, and obstetrics and gynecology. Now wait for it, there's more. She also obtains the prize for the best performance in pediatrics and child health, which is an award donated by the department. And she also obtains the prize for the best performance in cardiology, sponsored by the Division of Cardiology. In addition, she shares the prize for the best performance in surgery, donated by the Division of Surgery, and obtains the Novartis Prize for the best performance in the module Principles of Therapy, based on her marks in 2015 when she was in first year. Probably forgotten about that one. And then finally, she shares the prize for the best performance in urology, which was sponsored by the Division of Urology. Lillian du Toit obtains the degree cum laude with 10 distinctions: surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, pediatrics, psychiatry, and obstetrics and gynecology. She also obtains the prize for the best performance in obstetrics and gynecology, which is sponsored by the department, and also receives the prize for the best performance in ethics, sponsored by Mediclinic. Babalwa Zakwa, Elizabeth Jane Earl, who passes the degree cum laude. Distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. That's 8. And she also obtains the prize for the best performance in ophthalmology, donated by the Division of Ophthalmology, and the Novartis Prize for best performance in the module Clinical Pharmacology, based on the average of the MBCHB 5 and 6 years. Ziad Ahmed Isop, with distinctions in anesthesiology, ophthalmology, and orthopedics. Simone Faison, with distinctions in surgery, primary health care, ophthalmology, orthopedics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Nicole Marie Fenton, with 6 distinctions in primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Karika Renette Fick, with distinctions in surgery, orthopedics, ENT, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Miriam Maria Philippi passes the degree cum laude with 10 distinctions, namely in surgery, primary healthcare, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, internal medicine, pediatrics, psychiatry, and obstetrics and gynecology. Very well done. Mishal Ibrahim, with distinctions in orthopedics, ENT, and urology. Muzaffar Said Ibrahim, with distinctions in anesthesiology, ENT, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Jamila Edwards, with distinctions in primary healthcare, ENT, psychiatry, and obstetrics and gynecology. I wonder if we shouldn't allow you to sit down. I think you will probably only be needed a little bit later, sorry. So if you want to sit down, we'll call you up again, sorry. Johanna Magdalena Ekstien passes the degree cum laude with 7 distinctions in surgery, primary healthcare, ophthalmology, orthopedics, urology, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. She also receives the Rural Clinical School Student of the Year Prize, which is awarded to students that make an exceptional contribution to improve community interaction and the health of a rural community. And this prize is sponsored by the Ukwanda Ukwanda Center for Rural Health. Nina Christine Erasmus passes the degree cum laude with 7 distinctions in surgery, primary healthcare, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, internal medicine, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Muhammad Ubaid Esau. Brandon Mark Frankies passes the degree cum laude with 11 distinctions in surgery, primary healthcare, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, internal medicine, pediatrics, psychiatry, and obstetrics and gynecology, and receives the prize for the best performance in anesthesiology, which is donated by the department. He also receives the prize for the best performance in internal medicine, which is sponsored by the Department of Medicine, and shares the prize for the best performance in surgery, donated by the Division of Surgery. Anya Franson passes the degree cum laude with 9 distinctions in surgery, primary healthcare, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, pediatrics, psychiatry, and obstetrics and gynecology. Desiree Sibu Sisiwe Nonqepo Guguletu Gambushe. Aliyah Habiti Ghani. Elsha Marie Geldenaes with 5 distinctions, namely in surgery, primary healthcare, ENT, urology, and internal medicine. I just wanted to go back to Aliyah Habiti Ghani because I did not mention the fact that Aliyah got 4 distinctions: anesthesiology, ophthalmology, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Janke Geldenes, with distinctions in surgery, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, and ENT. Poppy Muraga Gelebe, with distinctions in ENT, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Ashley Allison Goliath. Jihad Hussein, with distinctions in ophthalmology and urology. Michaela Claire Goff, with 6 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, ENT, and pediatrics. Pierre Jacob Grobler, two distinctions, namely in ENT and urology. Carly Grunewald passes the degree cum laude with 9 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Leila Hafaji, with distinctions in primary health care, orthopedics, and ENT. Attar Mohammed Hassan Hanika. Marnice Henning, with distinctions in primary health care, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Camelia Tandu Shlongwani. Kukanya Rifumelo Shlongwani, with distinctions in anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Sagwati Shlangwane, Helen Ria Wink, passes the degree cum laude with 5 distinctions in surgery, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Earl Ray David Husselman, Fadwa Isaacs, Zahid Ahmed Ishmael, with 5 distinctions in anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Taskia Viandre Istain. Kelly Jackson, with distinctions in anesthesiology, ENT, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Yusuf Jakut, with 7 distinctions in surgery, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Jacqueline Nicolette Jumat. John Chilenge Kakoko, with 6 distinctions in surgery, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Mariam Kabani, Nishat Kajika. Hideki Lyle Kasai passes the degree cum laude with 8 distinctions, namely in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Yunela Sanelisiwe Kentani, Shehzad Khan, Lutfia Karwa, Sibongiseni Konzani, Shirley Rulani Neo Kubedu, Kashifa Kisnasamy, Yuandre Klopper, with distinctions in ophthalmology, ENT, internal medicine, and obstetrics and gynecology. Taryn Andrea Quipman, Aisha Karole, Carla Krier, passes the degree cum laude with 7 distinctions in surgery, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, ENT, urology, internal medicine, and obstetrics and gynecology. Boitumelo Felicity Kumeke, Astrid Rebecca Kupanluk, Olivia Jeanette Lang, passes the degree cum laude with 9 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Marizan Zoe Luck, with distinctions in primary health care, ophthalmology, and ENT. Claudia Rasheline Lekay, Ngwako Chepo Ledwaba, Anik Erin Leibrandt, with distinctions in primary health care and ENT. Mamosala Tumelo Lelope, Christine Leroux, passes the degree cum laude with 7 distinctions in surgery, urology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, psychiatry, and obstetrics and gynecology, and also receives the Dean's Award for the Best Student Intern Assignment. The project title was South African Undergraduate Health Science Students' Knowledge, Attitudes, and Practices and Preferences Regarding Vaccination. Wow, I'd love to read that one. And the assignment leader was Professor Angela Dromowski. Lethukwenama Zesuliwe Letsoalo, Farron Lycan Levendahl, Mudiwa Enrique Lobel, passes the degree cum laude with 8 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Retlametswe Lasaba, with distinctions in primary health care and obstetrics and gynecology. Nicolas Johannes Lotz, with 7 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, ophthalmology, orthopedics, urology, internal medicine, and obstetrics and gynecology. Janine Louis, 3 distinctions in primary healthcare, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Bianca Lucas, with distinctions in primary healthcare, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Mirab Awiti Luzweti, Abongile Lutkomo, Nadira Ashraf Dawood Mohammed, Tinswalo Makaringe, Nokutula Tabile Makoba, Pietrus Jacobus Malherbe, with distinctions in primary healthcare and obstetrics and gynecology. Andisiwe Litamsanka Maliwa, Ibet Mare, passes the degree cum laude with 11 distinctions in surgery, primary healthcare, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, internal medicine, pediatrics, psychiatry, and obstetrics and gynecology. She receives the prize for the best final year student in pediatrics and child health, which is donated by the department and Nestle. She also receives the prize for the best performance in psychiatry, donated by the Department of Psychiatry. And she receives the prize for the best performance in the domain of psychiatry, and this time with the award, very similar award to what I've just mentioned, but this time sponsored by the South African Society of Psychiatrists. Bradwell Rosé Markgraf, Emilio Mars, Sherilyn Lee Marshall, with distinctions in surgery and ENT. Kensani Precious Mashaba, Muratwe Cananelo Nicole Masima, Busisiwe Precious Masinga, Muhammad Taufik Matir, with distinctions in ophthalmology and orthopedics. Sharon Sanelesiwe Matole, Jacqueline Renelle Matruis, Fatima Zara Mayet, with distinctions in primary healthcare, anesthesiology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Samira Mayet, distinctions in ENT and obstetrics and gynecology. Lutando Fortune Mazibuko, Sam Kilisiwe Jean Mbambo, with distinctions in primary healthcare, ophthalmology, orthopedics, and ENT. Shlengiwe Nolutando Mbata, with distinctions in orthopedics and ENT. Lwazi Mbele, Tapsile Faith Metkunu, distinctions in anesthesiology and obstetrics and gynecology. April Victoria McKenna Hoyle, with distinctions in surgery, anesthesiology, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Tabani Luyanda Ndlalose with distinctions in ophthalmology, orthopedics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Lungiswa Nosimilo Ndleche. Alex Leshlo Honolo Menu, with distinctions in primary health care and orthopedics. Yamkele Nkashe. Zakia Mia. Luto Goma, with distinctions in surgery, ophthalmology, orthopedics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Mbalentle Ayanda Joy Ngomezulu. Bontle Rosina Mwache, with distinctions in primary health care, ophthalmology, and ENT. Retabile Eugenia Muketsani. Michelle Murdek, with 6 distinctions in primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Ibrahim Mohammed. Rezia Mohideen, with distinctions in ophthalmology and urology. Sakile Ntabiseng Mukheti. Manchato Moloko. Mashadi Peladi Monyabodi. Delicia Ivana Mudley, with distinctions in primary health care, orthopedics, and ENT. Yusra Mukadam. Fahima Mullah, with distinctions in primary health care, anesthesiology, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. And she receives the prize for the best performance in primary health care late phase, which is sponsored by 3 divisions. Those are community health, family medicine, and primary care, and then the Center for Rehabilitation Studies. She also receives the prize for the best performance in family medicine and primary care, donated by that division. Sriya Mupan, receiving distinctions in primary health care, orthopedics, and ENT. Taufik Muis, with distinctions in ophthalmology, orthopedics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Kaylin Maria Mop. Daniel Moreira, with distinctions in primary health care, anesthesiology, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology, receiving the prize for the best performance for clinical skills in the early and middle clinical rotations. And that was sponsored by the Simulation and Clinical Skills Unit. Tayden Morris, with 6 distinctions in primary health care, anesthesiology, ENT, urology, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Amy Scott Morrison, with distinctions in ophthalmology, ENT, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Kielabocha Precious Motusi. Adam Moser. Curtis Anthony Mpisi. Nonto Kozo Ashley Mponda. Cornelis Johannes Miller. Shannon Samantha Miller. Masitembe Mvun Yiswa. Daniela Mayberg passes the degree cum laude with 7 distinctions in primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Shastra Naidu. Shaylin Malcolm Naidu. Nina Nana, with distinctions in primary health care and ENT. Lana Sarah Napoleon, with distinctions in ophthalmology, orthopedics, and ENT. Alicia Narottam, with distinctions in primary health care, ENT, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Tembani Ndongeni, with distinctions in primary health care and ENT. Yanka Nell obtains the degree cum laude with 8 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Christian Marais Nell, with distinctions in ENT and obstetrics and gynecology. Sipiwe Kashle Brenon Ngidi. Sami Samkilesiwe Michelle Nkabinde. Pearl Morashadi Ntswane. Nkosinati Sakile Nzama. Shoaib Alday, with distinctions in anesthesiology and ENT. Living Praise Olowu, Carol Westhuizen. Gisela Westhuizen obtains the degree cum laude with 4 distinctions in surgery, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Keenan O'Shea, with 7 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Shin Sang Park. Muhammad Zakir Parker, with distinctions in anesthesiology, ophthalmology, ENT, internal medicine, and obstetrics and gynecology. Anya Pole, with distinctions in orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Amy Dorothy Pierce. Greta Pearson, who passes the degree cum laude and has 9 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Kurt Lee Taman Pakir. Camilla Jane Pennyfather, who passes the degree cum laude with 9 distinctions in primary health care, surgery, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. And she also receives the Novartis Award for excellence in undergraduate research in the research project in clinical pharmacology. And she receives the prize for the best performance in orthopedics, sponsored by the Division of Orthopedic Surgery. Shauna Frances Peterson, with distinctions in primary health care, ophthalmology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Michelle Cleo Pfeiffer, with distinctions in ENT and obstetrics and gynecology. Rashika Prague, Andrea Joy Prince, Nadine Margot Ramjan, Omar Rasul, Ibrahim Omar Rawut, Faranaz Rawut, with distinctions in ophthalmology and urology. Mashudu Bongiwe Rembululwani, Ulrich Christian Rutif, Jade Joan Riley, Jose Luigi Robinson, with distinctions in orthopedics and obstetrics and gynecology. Nikita Rodenbach passes the degree cum laude with 8 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Alex Wilhelm Rudefeld, with distinctions in anesthesiology, orthopedics, and ENT. Nicolas de Bruyn Ruiz, who passes the degree cum laude with 8 distinctions in surgery, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Gazelle Roux, with 4 distinctions in primary health care, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Azar Rylance, Junaid Sadine, passes the degree cum laude with 5 distinctions in surgery, orthopedics, ENT, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Raisa Sali, with distinctions in anesthesiology, orthopedics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Naila Samudin, with distinctions in ENT and obstetrics and gynecology. Muhammad Yassin Samsudin, with distinctions in ENT and obstetrics and gynecology. Calvin John Samuels, with distinctions in primary health care and anesthesiology. Astrid Lazan Sass, Nicole Mary Schaefer, Ethan Mark Scott, with 5 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, orthopedics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Lee Roy Percy Silikani, Byron Llewellyn Glenn Shaw. Noluthando Shilembe, with distinctions in orthopedics and ENT. Luthando Cassius Siboya, with distinctions in primary health care and ENT. Taryn Rachel Simeon, with distinctions in primary health care and ENT. Nicole Amy Smith, with distinctions in ENT and obstetrics and gynecology. Veronique Smith. Alexander Smuts, with 5 distinctions: primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Jana Marie Sneeman. Ndumisu Oluwatoyosi Oluwapelumi Sulanke, who passes the degree cum laude with 5 distinctions in surgery, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Siviwe Nandipa Lindokushle Sompani. Ashley Nicole Stunder, with 5 distinctions in primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Zakia Stellenboom. Monique Stein. Dahan Pietri Stipp, with distinctions in anesthesiology, ophthalmology, and obstetrics and gynecology. And Jessica Strong, with 5 distinctions in primary health care, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Anke Swart, with distinctions in anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Anke also receives the prize for the best performance in the rural elective. This prize is sponsored by the MBCHB Program Committee and the Ukwanda Centre for Rural Health. Tamsin Lara Swart, distinctions in primary health care, orthopedics, and ENT. Megan Elizabeth Tarantal passes the degree cum laude with 7 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Jared Mark Thompson obtains the degree cum laude with 5 distinctions in surgery, orthopedics, ENT, internal medicine, and obstetrics and gynecology. No clap for the cum laude? Thank you. Catherine Emma Tinkler, distinctions in pediatrics and obstetrics and gynecology. Amy Ann Titus. Carol Todd, with distinctions in primary health care, ophthalmology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Yolandi Tohua. Sinatemba Toyo. Lisa with distinctions in surgery, primary health care, pediatrics, and obstetrics and gynecology. Nozuko Linikita Vakalisa. Herman Hendrik van der Linden, with distinctions in primary health care and ENT. Benjamin Neil van der Merwe, who passes the degree cum laude, with 7 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, ophthalmology, ENT, pediatrics, psychiatry, and obstetrics and gynecology. Laika van der Schyff, with distinctions in primary health care, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Nawaz van der Schyff, with distinctions in ophthalmology, ENT, and urology. Alke Shael van Deventer, with distinctions in primary health care and obstetrics and gynecology. Sune van der Westhuizen, with 5 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, ophthalmology, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Abigail Luann van der Westhuizen, distinctions in ENT and obstetrics and gynecology. Marilee van Skalkwyk, with 6 distinctions in primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Lisa Marie van Veyeren, with distinctions in ENT and obstetrics and gynecology. Anke van Zyl, with distinctions in anesthesiology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Janine van Zyl passes the degree cum laude with 9 distinctions in surgery, primary health care, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, urology, psychiatry, and obstetrics and gynecology. Mohammed Voda, with distinctions in surgery, anesthesiology, and orthopedics. Maria Visser, with distinctions in primary health care, ophthalmology, orthopedics, and ENT. Tracy Peter Ward. Zena Weber. Fatima West. Kayla Victoria Wielden, with 6 distinctions in surgery, anesthesiology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, urology, and ENT. Franklin Williams. Amy Lee Willis. Tennille Wiltshire, with distinctions in ophthalmology, orthopedics, and ENT. Samantha Yen, with distinctions in primary health care and obstetrics and gynecology. Taemin Yun. Natasha Tanya Young. Jessica Alexandra Zitzman, with 5 distinctions, namely in surgery, ophthalmology, orthopedics, ENT, and obstetrics and gynecology. Sinan Shlanchla Sibusiso Zulu, with 4 distinctions in primary health care, orthopedics, ENT, and Obstetrics and Gynaecology. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to the end. Not yet. Okay, so Prof. Blitz will tell me what names have been excluded or not mentioned, and I will do that first. Okay. All right, apologies. There were some names not mentioned earlier. Zama Sibalukulu Natando Sibonga Konke Dlamini. Stephanie Lee Dolman with 3 distinctions in primary healthcare, ophthalmology, and obstetrics and gynecology. Okay, Muhammad Ubaid Iso and Ewan Emil Furi. Thank you. Thank you very much, Prof. Blitz, for coming to the rescue there. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the names of all the graduates. I'm not done yet. There are some special prizes to be announced. But can we just, because I think all the students did extremely well. And so I think it would be the right thing for us to give them a very hearty round of applause at this stage. Well done. So those are the names, as I've mentioned. The signing of the pledge book and the certificates by our new colleagues will take place as they collect their certificates during the course of the week. So now we move on to some special awards, and those are the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences medal awards. So it gives me great pleasure to announce the medal for the top academic achiever. This is awarded to the MBCHB student who achieved the highest mark taken over the duration of the program. So I'll give the marks first before I name the person. In year 1, the mark was 87.5, year 2, 85.3, year 3, 85.2, year 4, 85.6, and then the person slacked off quite a bit because in year 5, the person only got 81.2. But woke up and in the next year, the final year, got 86. So giving an average for the 6 years of 85.13%. Gives me great pleasure to announce that this award for the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences Medal for the top academic achiever of 2020 goes to Inga de Toy. Well done. Well done, Inga. Or should I say Dr. de Toy now? It also gives me great pleasure and delight to announce another medal, this time for a student who is outstanding within the MBCHB program. Not only was the student academically sound, but this is important. The student was seen to live out or reflect the faculty values, and the student epitomized our vision of a future doctor. So I'm delighted to announce our award for this outstanding MBCHB graduate of 2020. The name of the person is Zesuliwe Robinson. So I have one more award to announce, and I'm a little bit biased when it comes to this award, because this award is called the Dean's Award for Leadership. It's my favorite award. So I will now tell you about the person who will receive this award. So the person to be named in a minute has a life motto which reads, "Do the things you fear the most." So the recipient of this award is already a doctor, obtained a PhD in 2014 in morphological sciences, anatomy and histology at this faculty. But that was not enough, because she then took on the MBCHB program and is finishing now, 2020. With PhD and MBCHB, she is doctor. Now, I can't go through everything about this person for the sake of time, but I will mention just a few things. The person throughout her MBCHB years has been active in publishing research from the PhD and doing new undergraduate research as an MBCHB student. She's also supervised and co-supervised postgraduate students. She's presented at conferences, and she has been involved in teaching, all while doing her MBCHB. She's been an active member of the Stellenbosch University Surgical Society. She was chairperson of the Anatomy Society of Stellenbosch. She was co-founder of the Stellenbosch University Anatomy Society and chairperson. She was Secretary General of Q Undergraduate Research Society. She was co-founder of the Tygerberg Postgraduate Student Council and a representative on the Tygerberg Student Council. She was also awarded the annual Feinberg School of Medicine Northwestern University bursary to attend an elective in pediatric cardiothoracic surgery in Chicago, Illinois. And as if those things are not enough, she also did a fair amount of volunteer work in the community. She, for example, was part of the Book Buddy project in Khayelitsha, and she was a student assistant for the Project Flamingo at Tygerberg Hospital, which assists with breast-related surgeries for people in the community. So all of those are important factors in us arriving at the person's name, and I have now great pleasure in announcing that the Dean's Award for Leadership in 2020 goes to Dr. Elsje Marie Geldenhuys. Thank you. And that then, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of this ceremony. I once again would just like to thank the guest speaker for challenging us, for making us think, for inspiring us. Thank you very much, Dr. Erasmus. I would like to also congratulate once more the graduates. Thank you for the privilege of having been part of your learning, part of your growth and development. We collectively, from the faculty, wish you well as you enter your career. We hope that you will stay in touch with us and be able to advise us in the future of how we can do things better. But also, we hope that we can be of some assistance to you in your future development also. And then there are always people working behind the scenes that do so much, and without whom events like this would never be successful. I want to mention Menwin Sambur and the DPK Productions for the technical support. I'd especially like to thank Salot Hanekom and also Farah Fredericks and her team for working so hard through the weekend and through many weekends to enable us to have a successful event. Thank you for your hard work. And then finally, I'd like to say a word of thanks to our various funders who have contributed to the success of our graduates today. And that includes just ordinary people, not people with big bags of money, people like staff members or members of the public who have reached out and have contributed to our Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences bursary, which has been so useful in filling financial or meeting financial needs of the students during their time at the faculty. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask the audience here to please stand as the procession leaves. Thank you very much. I think this must be for Dr. Erasmus.
you.